Substitute a value. When we replace the variable in the formula with the number, it is called substituting a value. And when substituting, you must place the numbers in parentheses so that there's no confusion in the future. Example 1. What is the load current with a 60-watt bulb connected to a 120-volt power line? So we're going to use this formula. So let's go back to this example and find our numbers. So we know that we have a 60-watt bulb, so that's equal to our power. So we put 60 here for equals P, and we can see we have a 120-volt power line. So that's our voltage, is 120. So V. Our next step is to now substitute in these numbers into this equation. So we have 60 for P. So we would just go ahead and write 60. Then we have our division sign. And then we have 120, which is equal to I. And that's the current. So now we need to go and divide 60 divided by 120. So 60 divided by 120. So we can go, 120 can't go into 6, can't go into 60, but it can go into 600. So let's go ahead and just guess. So go times 5. 0 times 5 is 0. 2 times 10. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. So we have 0, 0. And so we know that 120 can go into 600 5 times. Notice we brought up that decimal. So our solution for current is I is equal to 0.5 amps. So we can just put A. Now let's go look at another example. Evaluate the following. So we have negative x squared minus 2x minus 6 when x is equal to negative 2. So this equation tells us that we need to substitute this negative 2 anytime we find an x. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have minus, now parentheses, negative 2 raised to the second power. Now we go minus 2x, which that's minus 2 in parentheses, and then minus 6. So dealing with order of operations, we can deal with parentheses, but that's just a negative 2, so we don't actually have to do anything inside of it. The next is E for exponents. So we have this negative 2 raised to the second power, so we have minus 2 times minus 2. And then we have minus 2 times negative 2 minus 6. So let's go back to this exponent. So negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4, but we have this negative sign. So it's going to become negative 4. So we just go ahead and write it like that. And then we have minus 2 times negative 2, so that's plus 4 minus 6. So notice this minus 4 plus 4 then is just 0, because we go 4 minus 4 is equal to 0. And then we have this minus 6. So our solution is just negative 6 for this problem. Let's go ahead and look at another example. Example 3. How many watts is being consumed with a 220 volt circuit and has a current of 30 amps? So for this problem, we are going to be solving for our P, because that's watts. So we're asking for power. So let's go look for I and V. So we have a 220 volt circuit. So our V then is 220, and then we have an I for current, which is 30 amps. So let's go now substitute in our values to find power. So we have P, which is equal to 30 times 220. So 220 times 30, 0 times 0, 0, 0, and 0. Now we do a placeholder. So 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 2 is 6. Let's go ahead and add. So we have 0, 0, 6, 6. And so our power then is 6,600 watts. And let's go ahead and do one final example. Evaluate the following. We have a b squared minus 2a minus 6b, when a is equal to 3 and b is equal to 2. So let's go ahead and substitute these values into our expression. So we have a, which is 3. So we can go ahead and write 3. Then we have b squared. So we would write 2 squared minus 2a. A is then just 3, so put that in parentheses, minus 6b, and b is equal to 2. So now we have it all written out with our numbers now in for the variables. So let's look at order of operations. We don't necessarily have a parentheses where we need to simplify within. So our next step is exponents. We see we have an exponent here. So let's go ahead and solve for that. So we have 3, and then this 2 times 2. Remember, we have a base number of 2, and we have 2 copies of it. So 2 times 2. Then we have minus 2 times 3, minus 6 times 2. So let's go ahead and solve and simplify. So we have 3. 2 times 2 is 4. We'll rewrite everything else out. And then, so we've dealt with our exponent. Now we need to do our multiply divide. So this 3 times 4 is equal to 12. And then we have minus 2 times 3, which is 6. And then we have minus 6 times 2, so that's minus 12. So once again, we have a 12 minus 12, so that just becomes 0 when we take into consideration that, and we're left with just -6 as our final solution.